pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, board, I need a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve tonight's agenda?
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No one opposed? Dr. Wells, we have an agenda.
All right, thank you. Mr. Chair, ladies and gentlemen of the board, take a minute to just kind of go through the process tonight with everyone, if that's okay.
Okay.
And so, first, I'd like to take a moment to thank everyone who applied for the District 1 school board position that was vacated by Mr. Greiser. Tonight, in accordance with Virginia Code 24.2-228, the school board will interview applicants in order to fill the position vacated by Mr. Greiser. A little background on the timeline of events. March 13th, Mr. Greiser submitted his resignation. And so in accordance with the Code of Virginia, the school board immediately began the process to fill the position within 45 days of the position becoming vacant. The appointment term for District 1 seat will begin May 4th, 2023, and expire December 31st, 2023. The seat is up for re-election this year, and interested applicants can complete necessary steps to have their name placed on the ballot in November. On March 14th, we issued a press release which detailed how the applicants could apply for the position. On April 5th at 5 p.m., the application window closed. On April 6th, the school board reviewed applications during closed session and selected candidates to interview. All candidates were contacted after the meeting by phone and email, and interviews were scheduled for the applicants selected by the board. Tonight, on April 20th, we have a special school board meeting. The board will allot approximately 20 minutes per candidate for the interview. Interviews will take place in open session, and the board will deliberate in closed session. If a decision is reached, a vote will take place in open session. The member who is appointed will have their term begin on May 4th and again and terminate on December 31st. The member will need to take their oath of office prior to May 4th, 2023. And I also recommend the member who is appointed schedule an orientation meeting with me and my staff prior to the May 4th board meeting. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. So, Dr. Hoden is going to, so our first candidate is Mrs. Monica Wright. We'll ask the other two candidates to go with Dr. Hoden. Thank you very much. Hi, Ms. Wright. How are you tonight? Good. So my name is Chris Terry. I'm the chairman of the school board. What we're going to do is we have a series of about 10 questions. Each of us have two. We'll make our way down the line. You'll get the same questions as everyone else. So is there anything you'd like to say before we start off?
Nope, I'm ready to start it.
Okay, great. Thanks for submitting your application and your resume. Thank you. So I'll start off and first ask, why are you applying for the seat on the school board? And if appointed, what will be your priorities?
Right, great question. So I applied for the school board.
Excuse me, sorry.
Yes.
May Ms. Wright
Yes.
have the mic closer so everyone can hear her
Is this all right?
responses?
Yeah.
Yes, eat that mic. Thank you.
All right, so I applied for the school board because I have young children, and so they're going to be a part of the school system for the next decade, and I'd like to be a part of the decision-making process for them and for the rest of the kids who are going to be adults with my children when the time comes. And my priorities, I guess, would be to logically think about any problem and try to solve it. And I know you guys have many problems. But there's also a lot of good things that come with being on the board and being a part of this as well.
Okay. Okay, great. So what are the most important issues facing the school board?
Right, so it seems to me that chronic absenteeism and the decision to opt in and opt out. And with those, I think that there are some subcategories that could go along with that, because no problem is just one problem, it's many problems. I do think that the first thing that we should focus on is chronic absenteeism and how we fund our schools. Right now, we fund our schools with the attendance of our students, And I really do think that it should be funded with the registration of our students, because there's many reasons why parents don't bring their children to school, especially post-COVID. I'm one of them, where my children have been dubbed chronically absent, and that's a part of the reason why I'm here. And I think a lot of it is just post-COVID, parents are hesitant to bring their children to school if they're coughing or if they have a stomach ache. And I was one of those, and I kept my children home for everything because I didn't want to be that mother who was spreading things around. So my children got absent. Another reason is we took our children on a vacation. That's another thing, that parents should be able to take their children on vacation. And I know that's supposed to be done during the summertime, and I understand that, but as a perspective from a new parent, I like to consider myself a new parent with children under the age of 8, and after COVID, we realized that you have all these quarantines, you have all these children doing outside work, outside of the school, doing online things, and we just realized that our time is so important. And if you want to take your child out to have a vacation so they're learning other things and they're experiencing other things, well, let's do that. Let's set that up and then make an excuse or because what right now it is an unexcused absence. If you don't have a doctor's note, it's an unexcused absence. And so we were considered to have unexcused absences, and I was told that I had to bring my children to the doctors every time that they were sick. And I don't know how you are, Laura, but if my children are sick, I don't immediately run them to the doctors. So I don't have a doctor's note for every single time. So those are kind of the two things I think that attribute to the chronic absenteeism, is just parents being hesitant to bring their children to school, which the school system has made a really, really, really good effort at making sure that parents don't feel that way. I mean, they've had Sunday parties for making sure that you're there all the time, and they have all these sorts of rewards to make sure students are there every month. And that was really helpful for me because, again, in the beginning, I was very hesitant to bring my child back to school because I didn't want to be that mother spreading things. So I'm very thankful that I have them. Maybe that is a cause of the chronic absenteeism.
Okay.
You know? And I think that if I was to be a part of your board, I could give you insight like that maybe other mothers and other parents experience and have with their children that might not be seen by everybody.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Thompson?
Mrs. Wright, what do you think distinguishes you from the other applicants for the school board seat?
Again, I think just having young children in the school system, that really is what's going to give a different perspective to the school board. And yes, I may not have the experience that some of these other individuals have. I don't know them personally. I assume they've maybe been in the school system or other such things, and that's wonderful. But there's something good that comes with new insight, a new person, somebody who's new to things and who is raising their children in a time where there's screens and there's internet and there's unlimited information being handed to them. And we just really need to, I mean, I got to step up, and what happened was I seen that there was an opening, and while I would never campaign to do this, because I'm just not that kind of person, I seen the opening and I said, well, if not me, then who? And that's why I'm here.
And then my second question is, what qualities do you believe are important for a school board member?
Well, integrity, I think, is a number one thing. Compassion, empathy, logical thinking, things like that. I guess I would be if you can be a decent human, you can be a decent person on a decent member of the board. And you're just looking for not somebody who thinks they know everything, but somebody who's just trying to understand and make it a better place.
Thank you.
Good evening. My question is, and you touched on it a little bit, but we'll go deeper. What do you see is the primary duty of the school board member, and how is this different from the role of the school administrators?
Right. So I guess the school board members are the decision makers. And really that's what it comes down to. You all hold you can make the decision to do things versus the administration. The administration is hired and they're paid and they're doing things. And I mean, I've never been a part of the administration, so I can't really speak too much on that. And I don't want to talk about things I don't know. I just know that being a member of the board would allow me an opportunity to help make decisions and have an oversight and to kind of see what the big picture is.
Okay, thank you. My second question is, how should differences of opinion between school board members be addressed? And then part two, what about differences of opinion between school board members and the school administration?
I think through dialect and conversation and going back and forth. And it's long and it's tedious, and dealing with different perspectives is difficult. But we're all sharing this country, we're all sharing this school, we're all sharing this county, and that's just what needs to happen. We need to be able to talk it through.
Okay. Is that for
I hope-
both parts of the question?
Oh, can you repeat the second part of
Yes,
the question?
I think you answered it, but I will. What about differences of opinion between the board members and administration? Same thing, collaboration?
Right. I mean, it comes down to collaboration and speaking it through. I don't know if there's another option, but that's what it comes down to, is try to voice your opinion in a logical manner with compassion and empathy, and sit down until you can figure it out. That's what it comes down to. And I think that's why these board meetings are so long.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mrs. Wright, for coming and applying for this civic duty. I appreciate it. I have two questions for you.
Go ahead.
I have, what steps does the board need to take to maintain a good relationship with the community? And does that look different between how the board does relationship and how individual members do relationship with the public?
Well, if you're a member of the board, you're a part of the whole. And I think you need to first,
If we could just stick to the original question, that
Yes,
way we
ma'am.
don't, make sure we don't stray with
Yes,
others. Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Thank you
thank
very
you.
much. So the question as written, what steps does the board need to maintain a good relationship with the community? That's the question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
put someone on the board who is a member of the community, who can speak to the people who are putting their children through school. I mean, it comes down to, again, I have young children, so I'll be here for a very long time, and we have play dates with tons of people, and we see tons of other parents, and nothing against anyone who's on the board right now, but I don't know if any of you have children, or unless they're older or they have moved out of the school system. But I do think that having someone on the board with the perspective that I have would really be beneficial. And so when it comes to the board is a team, and that should be first and foremost. And then the individuals, yes, you should speak the truth and how you feel, and you should never speak anything but the truth. But I think that the board should be a united front, for sure.
Thank you very much. Question number 8. What changes would you recommend to the academic programs of the school system?
So I think the first thing that comes to mind is our reward and punishment system, or our reward system essentially, because there is no negative punishment for things that are done. For example, my daughter if she doesn't do her homework, there's no negative consequence for her not doing her homework. So that kind of puts me against the teacher, where the teacher doesn't, and I love her teacher, and I want to say that clearly, but there is nothing but there's a lot of positive reinforcement. So if they get a question right, they get a Skittle. Well, a Skittle is sugar, and that's not really a good thing you want to hand a child to get something right. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't give your children rewards for doing right things, but you want to deter them from doing bad things as well. And if we don't deter them from doing the bad things, and you only reward them for doing the good things, then you have some students who will go with it and some students who won't. And I think that one thing that really gets me is when we are rewarding our children with candy, it just doesn't set a very good example at all.
Thank you.
I'll be back.
All right, I guess I've got two more questions. What are the major challenges facing public education?
By far, hands down, the most major problem we have is screens. Is that people are worried about the books and they're worried about these things, but the children go home and there is unlimited access. This has never been before really has happened, where young children have access to, as long as you can type in a computer, you can ask anything. That's going to be the biggest problem moving forward for the school system, because now our children can get online and they can essentially search anything. And they're getting a lot of information, they're getting a lot of knowledge, And sometimes it goes with what the teachers say, sometimes it goes against it, sometimes it goes with what parents say, and sometimes it goes against it. But moving forward, I think that just recognizing the culture that our children are growing in with all of these social medias and all of these instant access things, that's what we really have to focus on. And if we don't get a grip on it, it's going to be, I think, terrible for the mental state of our children.
All right. I had a little mic issue here. What are the top 3 changes you would like to see in Amherst County Public Schools?
Number one, I would like to see our schools funded by the registration of our students and not by the attendance of our students. Number two, I would like to have a more rigid system with our rewards, so that way there is a, I don't want to use the word punishment, but for some reason nothing else is coming to my head, but positive and negative reinforcements. We need to look at both of those. And I'm not talking about corporate punishment, I'm just talking about if you don't do your homework, you miss out on recess. You know what I'm saying? If you don't do your homework, you miss out on, if you don't do your homework and my daughter says, well, it doesn't matter, well, that's not okay. You know, if you don't do your homework, miss out on recess. If you get the question right, maybe you shouldn't give a child a Skittle.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So is there anything else you would like to tell us while you're here? You have a little bit of time, a couple extra minutes?
Yeah. So, you know, before you come to something like this, you have a list of things and you're talking to yourself and you got all these things you could say and do. And when it comes down to it, I just want you guys to know that I have the best interest of the children at heart. I am a reasonable person. While I have not been in the school system, I volunteered it for soccer, and I try to donate when I can to the school. I try to do what I can with the school. I try to be active with my children. I try to be active with my children's friends. And I just want you to know that I'm really here just to try to place myself in a position that I can be a good example and then I can make a difference overall from the big picture, from a bigger picture. It comes down to a bigger picture.
Thank you. Okay. Dr. Wells, you want to,
Is that-
anything else? I guess we're done?
Thank you all for your time.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Wright.
My turn to be in the hot seat.
It is.
Do you mind if I push that back a little bit?
Well, actually, you're going to need to pull it forward because it's kind of.
Oh, is it not?
It's, yeah.
I'm pretty loud.
And they want to make sure everybody can hear it online, so. Well, thank you for applying, Ms. Saunders. I'm Chris Terry, I'm the chairman of the school board. The process here is we have about 10 questions we're going to go through. Each of us have 2. So we'll be reading. If you look up and we're not
Right,
making eye contact, we're trying to make a few notes.
That's fine.
So I'm going to kick it off with the first question is, why are you applying for the seat on the school board? And if you're appointed, what will be your priorities?
Okay, well, first I want to thank you all for selecting me as one of the interviewees. I appreciate that. As I stated in my letter, I think you guys have that in front of you, is that I'm a mom of 4, and in a couple of weeks, I will be, all of my 4 will have graduated from Amherst County High School. So I've sort of laugh and say that insurance commercial, we insure it all because we've seen it all. I sort of feel like that mom. You know, with 4 kids, you sort of none of them are alike, there's no booklet or anything, so all of my kids have excelled, but in the process, a lot of them have struggled as well. So I have been through 504s, IEPs, I've been through honor societies, I sort of have seen a little bit of all of it. And when I was going through the 504 plan, I asked one of the teachers in the elementary school who advocates for these kids that don't have bulldog parents like myself, who's their voice? And they said, well, they don't have one. And at that time, I was like, well, that's terrible. Shame on all of us for letting that fall through the cracks. So really, I think I want to be an advocate. I want to be a voice for those who don't have one. Priorities, there's so much that goes on right now, but I think mental health, behavior issues would be one of my priorities. Staffing shortages would be another, and absenteeism.
Okay. So, what are the most important issues facing the school board?
I think probably a lot of what I just said. And then I'd like to add that also important would be the safety of our students. The mental health we've seen decline. I think that definitely leads to behavior issues that teachers are seeing in the classrooms. That is such a strong, we don't have a lot we can do. State funding makes that difficult, but I think that, we continue with that. The absenteeism, seeing that, I would like to see us go into the community. We need to be where the community is. It's always great to think that they would come to us, but we need to go to them. It's a domino effect. If you can find out what is important issues in the community, that affects our schools, affects our kids. And, we might not think that they hear us, but they do. So I think those are the most important for me.
Great, thank you very much. Ms. Thompson?
Well, thank you. Mrs. Saunders, what do you think distinguishes you from other applicants for the school board seat?
Well, I have a wide variety of skill sets. I've been in government. I'm still in government. I have worked a lot with the CTE programs here with the school. I have managed some budgets. I've managed people. I've managed businesses. So, like I said, I have a wide variety of skills.
Thank you. What qualities do you believe are important in a school board member?
The ability to really listen to their community, to hear what's being said, and then to form an opinion that's not biased, and keeping our children at the forefront. They're the most important. That's why we're here.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening,
Good evening.
My question is, what do you see as the primary duties of the school board member, and how is this different from the role of the school administrators?
Okay, well, administrator, I would say they have that day-to-day basis. They're in the weeds, they're grinding it out, whereas the school board is trying to be supportive. We're also in a liaison. The liaison between the community and parents as well as the staff. So we would be facilitating big pictures and helping support those administrators and staff.
And my second question is, how should the differences of opinion between the school board members be addressed? And then what about differences of opinion between the school board members and the school administrators?
Well, one thing I teach my kids, and I'm really firm on, is you always respect people, whether your opinion is different or not, and you always listen. And if you can listen with an open mind, lots of times you can come to a mutual agreement. We're all here hopefully for the same reason, and so we all want the same outcome. I always like to tell people we're on the same team. We might not just get there a little differently.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks, Ms. Saunders. Thank you so much for applying and being here. So my questions, as written, are number 7, what steps does the board need to take to maintain a good relationship with the community?
Wow, I think we got to meet them where they are. and that means like going to these events, going to big events, and making sure they know who we are or who you all are, to say, I'm here, I'm listening. Going, even if you're just in the supermarket, sometimes people are gonna stop and ask you questions, always listening. And like I said, ask to see what those issues are, listening to what those issues are. I think that's a big difference is, you know, we can all talk, we just gotta listen sometimes.
Thank you. The second question is, what changes would you recommend to the academic programs of the school system?
Oh, goodness. Sort of outside my wheelhouse here. I would think I would have to get a lot of information from teachers to really make an educated thought process on that. That's probably what I would say. I would need more information.
Alrighty, I have two questions for you. What are the major challenges facing public education in Amherst County?
Well, definitely the staffing issue. I can see that has been an issue across the board. We all have that. That to me, and of course, like I said earlier, absenteeism. These kids, we need to have them there in the school. It's so important. You know, missing work, missing time puts you so far behind. But it also sets a pattern, right? And we have our workforce, and we want them to be on time. We want them to be there. But if we're not teaching that now, they think that that's the norm. So those are my two, I think, biggest challenges.
Okay. What are the top 3 changes you would like to see in Amherst County Public Schools?
Wow. Well, I definitely am excited about this, the new building, that we can hold more events there, where we're not having to worry about where our people are going to sit, where they're going to be. I'm very looking forward to that. Expanding that CTE program, that is a huge change for us. It's been a great change. I will tell you that Amherst County has one of the best CTE programs in the region. So that continues. We have to change with whatever our workforce is asking us to have. That's really my top. And we, you know, continuing the education program. My kids went to private school and they've been to public school. And by far, Amherst County is heads and shoulders above the rest. I graduated from Nelson County High School, so I've been there, and I've done this. So I think that we're working in the right direction, and that's probably much all I have.
Thank you.
Great. So that's it for our questions from our side. Is there anything else you would like to tell us or cover with us?
I don't think so, unless if you think of anything else you'd like to ask me. I'm pretty straightforward.
Okay. Okay. All righty. Well, hearing nothing else, then thank you very much. Mr. Hoden? Hi, Ms. Wilder. How are you tonight?
I'm well, thank you.
Good. So my name is Chris Terry. I'm the chairman of the school board this year. Thank you for putting in your applications and in your resume. Is there anything you would like to tell us from the start?
I'm happy to be here. Grateful to be selected just to have the opportunity.
Okay. Okay, great. So the format tonight is we've got 10 questions we're going to ask. We'll each have two. We'll go around, and then you, if anything you want to close with, feel free. So I'll start it off. First question is, why are you applying for the seat on the school board? And if appointed, what will be your priorities?
Why? So often, people want to apply for a school board or a government position because they think, I can do it better. I see something wrong here, and I believe I can fix it. I'm not that person. I am someone who understands that the school board that we have in place right now is very much a winning team. You make decisions that are student-centered. I see that time and time again. I want to be part of that team, absolutely. The reason that I wanted to apply, this has been a personal long-range goal for several years. But I had anticipated waiting until I retire, which will be June 30th of this year. And I wanted very much to be part of the school board system. I believe that I bring a unique perspective as a former teacher and lifelong educator and building administrator. My priority would be to support the teachers, staff, and students, support the superintendent in the decisions that he makes, for the ability to provide not only the opportunities for our students, but access. We do that very well here in Amherst, and I would like to be able to bolster that. Subsequently, I think it would be important to address what is a small amount of poverty. Poverty is a very close item to my heart. As a person who grew up in abject poverty, I understand the reason when people say education is the key to success. I am blessed to be an example of that. It is important that we pass the torch, that we provide that opportunity for every single child within our district.
Great. Thank you. So next question is, what are the most important issues facing the school board?
There are myriad of issues that we face today, not merely the regrettable gun violence that occurs. We're fortunate in Amherst, but it is just such a prevalent presence in so many of our schools. And even though it hasn't occurred right here in our backyard, it impacts our kids. They see it on TV, they see it on the internet, and their parents worry for them. We are very fortunate to have amazing school resource officers within our realm to be able to help the students feel safe and be safe. I think it's important that our principals and assistant principals continue to apply the various threat assessments that are in place, and they do those well.
Okay. Okay. Ms. Thompson, up to you.
Mrs. Wilder, what do you think distinguishes you from other applicants on the school board that are applicants for this school board seat?
There are various backgrounds that each of us carry, and although I'm not proficient in their background, I know that they seek to become part of the school board system because they too want to make a difference, and I believe that that is uppermost in my mind. I want to be able to share what I have for over 3 decades been party to. Not only am I a lifelong learner, I understand the importance of a child must learn to read at a very early age. If you want them to lead, you must teach them to read. And we want leaders in Amherst.
Thank you. My second question, what qualities do you believe are important in a school board member?
Uppermost, I would say to be a good listener, because it's important to listen to our community. We would be charged with the responsibility of being fiscally responsible with tax dollars. People want to know what we're doing with their money. Are we spending it on our students as we should? In addition to that, it's important that not only are we being fiscally responsible, but we collaborate with one another. And I've noticed through the various evenings when I listen to the school board meetings, collaboration is key. And currently, the people in place, you all listen to one another. You not only are respectful of one another's opinion, because even when there is a difference, you always listen. And that has to come first. You can't have collaboration unless you're willing to listen.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Hi.
My first question is, what do you see as the primary duty of a school board member? And how is this different from the role of the school administrators?
Sure. As a school board member, I think it is a primary responsibility to support, first of all, the office of the superintendent, because if we select this person, then we trust him, and we need to be able to support him and the decisions that we allow him to make. In addition to that, it's different as a school administrator because you have a small business, if you will, whereas a school board member, we would cover and be responsible for all schools throughout the entire county, whereas building administrator is responsible for their little corner of the world, as it were.
Second question is, how should differences of opinion between school board members be addressed? And part two, what about differences of opinion between the school board members and the school administrators?
Sure. With respect to the differences of opinion within the school board members, as you engage one another, being able to not merely listen, but to understand the other person, to continue to seek what it is that they want to accomplish, and does it align with what you want personally to accomplish as a school board member? And if it's not, why not? And how can you find that middle ground, if you will? And it can't always be the person on the right or the person on the left. If we meet in the middle, then there is no right or left. There's only collaboration. And forgive me, could I impose upon you to repeat the second part of that question, if I may?
Oh, yes, surely. What about the differences of opinion between the school board members and the school administration?
Sure. Because there are a different lens that a school board member might look at a situation as opposed to a building administrator, ultimately, we charge the building administrators with being the person not only responsible for that particular campus, but also to make decisions. Sometimes they're long range, sometimes circumstances present, and it's imperative that you make a decision right now. If those decisions are in contrast to the school board members, we have to find a way to work it out. We just do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sorry. My questions are, number 7, what steps does the board need to take to maintain a good relationship with the community?
Sure. Community engagement is not only crucial, it very much is the lifeblood of a school board member, because not only because the community depends upon us to be fiscally responsible, they want us to listen to them. They want us to be able to affect change if it is something that is occurring as a culture. They want us to be able to address not only items that they feel, maybe they feel that my student might not have been treated fairly today, and I want someone to do something about it. We must always listen, whether we agree or not, whether we are able to right that wrong on that particular day. We must always listen and try to find that opportunity that would allow our parents, grandparents, to feel comfortable coming into schools. I had the privilege of my grandson attending for a couple of years under Dr. Steele's direction. He loved his elementary school, and whenever there were events, we felt comfortable as grandparents going each time. So it was not only an open door policy, but it was welcoming. And you can tell when you come onto a campus whether or not you feel welcome. And I've personally visited several of the schools, and I had the privilege of being a former teacher, as you know, at Amherst High School. I have yet to encounter a school in Amherst that I didn't feel welcome as soon as I parked my car. And that speaks volumes.
Thank you. And question number 8 is, what changes would you recommend to the academic programs of the school system?
I would say that the biggest change would be the amount of support that we were able to provide. Dr. Norman does a fine job of being able to recognize the various tiers that our students have, not only at elementary and at middle and high school, but to be able to help principals align that curriculum and provide teachers with the opportunities to have time together so that they can plan appropriately and accordingly. As we know, curriculum is just a small part of what it is that our students need. We have to be what I would call a wraparound service. It's not enough to be able to provide curriculum. We have to address the social and emotional learning. Our kids need to feel welcome, and they do.
All righty, I have 2 more questions. What are the major challenges facing public education in Amherst County?
Sure. I don't think the state gives us enough money. I never do. I think that teachers are a valuable resource, and so often our teachers are paid well, and when they are paid well, we often ask more of them, and it's like, yes, I'm going to give you a raise, but now I'm going to need you to come back for another 4 weeks this summer because we need a little bit more from you. And so the balance isn't always steady, if you will. So the biggest challenge is, do we have enough money to pay our teachers well? Do we have enough money, more importantly, to provide the curriculum and the technology that our students need to be able to be successful on an everyday basis?
Okay, what are the top 3 changes you would like to see at Amherst County Public Schools?
I would begin by saying that I don't have a negative opinion in that I see something that this must be changed because this is wrong. The only thing that I would ever recommend is a smaller classroom whenever possible, because the small group being addressed by a teacher, we found not only through research, but through personal experience, if you have a smaller class size, being able to make eye contact with every single student every time you speak to them, that's what they hear, that's what they remember. Does my teacher know my name? And so small class sizes are something that I would, it is a pipe dream, truly, because we are working very much on a budget that is dictated to us. And let's face it, there's only so much money in the pot. And the biggest wish, I would say, would be to be allowed to provide smaller class sizes whenever possible.
Top 3? I've got 1 so far.
Okay. Small classroom sizes. In addition to that, being able to continue to provide evolving technology, because our students, a lot of them are more tech savvy than us as adults because that's what they live by. We want to be able for them to feel comfortable when they're trying to do an assignment that the teacher has given them. Sometimes our students at home don't always have the Chromebook. Okay, I forgot it. Well, use your big brother's. My big brother doesn't have one. So do we have enough technology to provide for every single student? And more importantly, do they have access to the internet at home? And if they don't, are we providing a jetpack? Are we able to do that for just a community? Are we able to provide, if nothing else, maybe transportation at least 1 day a month to the library so that they can go and do homework at the library because we know there'll be computers there? Thirdly, the only other change that I would consider would be allowing our school resource officers to spend more time in the classrooms to be able to teach different things. Our students need to be comfortable with the law enforcement coming into their classroom, not because somebody did something wrong, but because that's the person I need to call upon if something bad happens in my life. And we want that trust to continue and to continue to evolve.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Ms. Wilder. Is there anything you would like to close with?
I'd just like to say thank you for the opportunity to apply.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay. Ready. So, board, we need a motion to go into.
Well, I need you to read something first.
You got to read something first. Gotcha.
Yes, sir. Pursuant to Section 2.2-3711A1 of the Code of Virginia, it is recommended the board convene a closed meeting for the following: A1, personnel matters, discuss appointment of District 1 school board position.
Okay. Board,
Make a motion that we go into closed session.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. Okay. We're now in closed session.
chilly, chilly, chilly.
Okay, so do I have a motion to come out of closed session?
Motion to come out of closed session.
Second?
Oh, all in favor? We can, I thought we had to.
That's motion to come out, then we have to do motion to certify,
Gotcha. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
and then motion to certify.
And motion to certify.
Second?
Yes. I got to read, yes. Whereas the Amherst County School Board has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to the affirmative recorded vote in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas 2.2-3712D, the Code of Virginia, requires that a certification by this school board that such a closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore, be it resolved that Amherst County School Board hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, one, only public business matters lawfully exempt from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which the certification applies, and two, only such public business matters were identified in the motion convening the closed session were heard, discussed, or considered.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Mrs. Thompson?
Yes.
Mrs. Ligon?
Yes.
Mrs. Justice?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi?
Yes.
So I would like to start off and thank all three of our candidates for tonight, for applying and coming out tonight. It was a close battle. We discussed each member, and so we would like to open up for the school board. Anything you'd like to say before we go into making a motion? Okay, can I get a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move to appoint Mrs. Lori Saunders as the District 1 School Board member to replace Mr. Greiser for his current term.
Okay, you have a motion?
Second?
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Hearing none. Mrs. Saunders, thank you very much. Yeah. Great, thank you very much. So,
All right. So, Mr. Chair, we need to
Yes.
go back into closed session for another discussion. So pursuant to Section 2.2-3711A1 of the Code of Virginia, it is recommended the board convene a closed meeting for the following A1 personnel matters.
great. Motion to go into closed session?
I make a motion, we go into closed session.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. I will sit by it.